去年我跟身边的中国人一起讨论的时候，一直觉得很尴尬。我达到了中文 GCSE， 可是我还觉得我没有那么多的自信，然后我的水平不够。对我而言，听中文播客和看中文的视频是一个梦幻。我实在听不懂他们在说什么。那一刻，我决定我要学好中文。直到今天，听中文播客不是一个遥远的理想了。日本語を勉強し始める理由は、幼い時、アニメはめちゃめちゃ好き。私はアニメにハマっていましたから。でも、文法は難しくて、単語もいっぱいわからなかった。四つ葉との漫画の読めることは想像ができなかったけど、今、15説明を読んでいる。それと、ネイティブな人と少し話せる経験がある。While I can definitely talk about all the fun things you can do with language learning, I don't think many people out there talks about how language learning changes you as a person. If you yourself are on a language learning journey, you guys will know all about the crippling self-doubt that comes with it, the lack of confidence, the crap ton of embarrassments when you start talking to natives, and also the many times you want to give up and just leave it all behind. Since I started this journey over a year ago now, I've kind of come to peace with this crippling self-doubt. And to people who are facing this, you are not alone. So this video are for people who are in the depths of language learning right now and are feeling a little bit desolate, or for the ones looking to embark on this new adventure for their 2026 New Year goal. So if you're interested, this is my journey thus far. What usually happens in the very beginning of your journey is you're hyped up and you're ready to go. It commonly looks like buying all of the textbooks, looking up best ways to learn this language, also watching vlogs of people speaking this language, and feeling very inspired. It's a beautiful feeling. And at the start, when you begin learning the alphabet, for example, things start progressing very quickly, and you start thinking it's easy and you'll get to your language goals in no time. For me, not only did I buy the first JLPT book, I also bought all the way up to N3. And you can see from the state of these textbooks which one I have yet to open. Last year, I also tried dabbling in Korean, and this was when I was mad ambitious because I was trying to juggle like Mandarin, Japanese, Korean, keep up on my Cantonese, and I don't know what I was expecting. And while it's possible, there is a strategy to manage all this, which I have spoken about in this video. And so exactly this time last year, I was setting up a lot of language goals for myself. But then of course, it all comes crashing down. Sometimes the issue we begin to face is we're not sure what the next step is. Which app should I use? Which textbook should I use? Should I start enrolling in a language course? That's why I'm very happy to be partnering with FluentU for today's video. Based on actual research on language learning, FluentU is a platform where you can learn Mandarin, Korean, Japanese, and 7 more languages from media that you like. And you can get a 40% discount if you sign up with the link below. On FluentU, not only do you get access to their massive internal library, you can also download podcasts and media that you like from Netflix or YouTube and other platforms that have subtitles. And this is all simply through their Chrome extension. When I was in the deep grind of learning Mandarin, I would have to search up every second word. FluentU contains a pop-up dictionary that contains the translations, other sentences, and extra video snippets, so you can learn this word from a variety of contexts. And we know from this channel how important learning from context really is. With an easy UI of just tapping on a word you don't know, and then voila, getting all of this context immediately, FluentU is a platform for those who want to save time and learn effectively. Now, a lot of us might stop here. I mean, we've touched base with the vocabulary, right? But as written in the name, FluentU's goal is to make you fluent. And that means getting help to form your own sentences. This is through their inbuilt quizzes, but this is where it starts to differ, because their quizzes are designed to help you build sentences from the ground up. These questions are also taken directly from the native material that you've been watching, and so all of these questions are personalized to you. If you can't go to the country, FluentU is the next best platform to get your immersion. Being able to directly translate from native video and audio, and being able to review and track your vocabulary all in one click. Language learning is no longer a futile grind, but a fun one. So if you would like a 40% discount, sign up with link.fluentu.com/Yuna. That is link.fluentu.com/Yuna. I'm excited to see you there. Thank you to FluentU for sponsoring today's video. Now that we're outside the initial learning phase of learning alphabets and basic grammar, we start trying to explore native content that's out there. And that's when it hits us like a truck. We start feeling like we've actually learnt nothing. We get hit with new characters, new grammatical structures, and new native ways of saying things that aren't in our textbook. At the same time, online, you're getting language advice that doesn't apply to you. You get people who've been studying for 3 months and they're suddenly fluent, and then you start to feel bad and you start second guessing all of your efforts. We've all been there. During this time, I was going even heavier on my flashcards and spending more hours in a day trying to put all of these new words into my brain, because that was what people were telling me to do, right? And as a novice, surely just listening to people's advice online is the best thing to do, right? And then you start to think, maybe this is what language learning really is. Maybe it is just a struggle I just have to push myself through and grind through. And this is what you see on Reddit. You get a lot of posts about suffering from burnout. And there are some comments here and there saying, oh, it gets easier when you can start to understand native content. But that seems like such a faraway goal. With every new word, you're searching it up on the dictionary, and you can no longer watch the media that you used to watch, or the anime or the VTube streams. So at this point, a lot of people decide to stop. But for the others, they decide to push through or grind through. For me personally, failure wasn't an option. In fact, because it was hard, I thought it would make it all worth it in the end. But recently I learned that this is an actual condition called the avoidance strategy of denial, which is basically where we deny our feelings of sadness and depression. Anyways, at this point in Mandarin, I wanted to be more fluent than ever. I talk about it here in my small mini-sode episode on ambition. But basically, I kept trying to push myself into a person I identified myself with, which was someone who was fluent in Mandarin and was accepted as being very Chinese. Whatever that means, right? On the other hand, with Japanese, I put a lot of pressure on myself to get to a very good level very quickly. I was trying a lot of things that were deemed as fun, but I did it to excessive amounts where I was just fooling myself. Reading Yotsubato, which was one of my favorite pastimes, had to be put on hold because I just put a lot of pressure on myself to try and learn every word or phrase that I didn't understand. I also started a lot of Japanese journals that didn't go anywhere because I thought every journal entry had to include some new words or new grammar structures. I was just piling on way too much pressure. I then failed to be consistent with everything that I did. And yet there was only guilt left. But there is a way to learn more without sacrificing our joy for language learning. We'll get there, don't worry. But the journey is not done yet. I was still in this phase of constantly trying to push myself, constantly trying to challenge myself. This led to a lot of pretty good things also. For example, I gave therapy to teenage people in Roblox.
我们有这个语言的 boundary， 但是我明白你的问题，我明白你说的对。你那么厉害 ，Lauren， 你有很他妈个意哟！你的衣服在哪？我可以看到全部。你的妈妈想什么呢？可以吓到别人。你的衣服，你没有衣服。
You say that in English?
看你自己。
Huh?
我知道全部。私は神様です。嗨。哦，你在钓鱼？怎么做？耐心是一个美德。Oh my god， 完成了！哇，可不可以给你 ？Here。
And I also decided to go and test out my Japanese in public, in Japan Center. My bad Japanese and embarrassing myself in public surprisingly made me more confident than I was before. I was proud that I had actually tried to go out and speak Japanese rather than the end result, which was my very mediocre Japanese. But this feeling was freeing. It made me loosen up in language learning in general, and I felt more secure in myself to let myself make mistakes. In fact, I almost craved it. A lot of people say, hey, People don't care what you're doing or no one's watching you. I judge what people do, okay? There are some people weird out there, I swear. Internally, you have to be okay with making mistakes. In fact, making a mistake improves you as a person, okay? It took a long time for me, like nearly a year, for me to get to this point. But after that point, that's when I really started pushing myself in my Japanese lessons with Aya Sensei and also in my group lessons with Iroiro na Nihongo. I'd already started these lessons beforehand, but this is where my mentality has started to switch and I was more willing to put myself forward. But for Chinese though, the change was on a much deeper level. And this actually started when I went on my trip to China. So I am Asian. And Chinese is my heritage. Mandarin and I go a long way back. I did Sunday school when I was a kid and was brought up speaking Cantonese to my grandma. But for both of these languages, I cannot communicate very well. And of course, that would make you as a child feel very isolated. Maybe a lot of you have heard this, but I was usually described as sick gong, sick tang, which basically translates to she can't speak, but she can understand. And then when you see other people who can speak both Chinese and English very well, of course you're gonna start feeling, bro, I'm a bit stupid, bro. You're gonna feel that, right? And sadly, when you go to China or you talk to Chinese people, you can't pull out the foreigner card when you look like this. And so this feeling was one of the main driving forces of why I started this YouTube channel too. I mean, my whole goal of this channel was to document myself becoming a Chinese. That stuck with me. 6 years later, I'm ready to become a Chinese. 안녕하세요. And it was only when I visited like Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu, Chongqing, Zhangjiajie, all of these places in China, did I realize how wrong I had got it. Because each city had their own dialect and their own way of living. They would even say sometimes they struggle to understand each other, according to the locals. Another thing that stroked my ego, people found it cool that we are from the UK. And by connecting to the people who I thought I wanted to become, I realized, bro, I was cool, just as I am. When people were trying to speak English with us, I had way more empathy because I understood how hard it is to learn a language. And this shared struggle just made it easier for us to connect more, not put us away because we spoke a different language. So when I got back to the UK, I was a bit lost because I realized the goal I've been working towards all of these months has been for like nothing. And everything felt kind of pointless. Even if I had become so good at Chinese, I'd never be one of them because the way we looked at the world was already so different. The way we lived was so different. And for people who might be feeling the same, that's something to be proud about, not ashamed about. I was still studying Mandarin on the side though, but there was absolutely no goal in it. I just did it when I felt like it and because it was fun. And on the outside, maybe it did look like a grind. Like while I was on the London tube, I would be still listening to Chinese podcasts and looking up words here and there. I mean, who would voluntarily do that for fun, right? That's weird. But strangely, when you start doing things just for the sake of it, just for it to be fun, you feel so much more at peace with language learning because there's nothing to prove. When there's nothing to prove to anyone, nothing can hold you down. And I can feel this tangibly when I study. I'm more engrossed in it and the enjoyment I have kind of reminds me of when you start learning a language for the first time. That kind of excitement. And that's where I think my story is currently. I know a lot of you might not get it. I know if I watched this while I was in my grind season, I'd be like, what is she on about? But I hope this video reaches the person who feels a bit suffocated in their language learning right now. Take a breath. Don't tie yourself to the end goal to be fluent or to be native or to be like them. Because language learning in general, I think is one of the best decisions you can make. It makes you more courageous as a person to constantly put yourself out there to fail on purpose, to make yourself look silly and embarrassed all the time. But all that just makes you better as a character. So come back to this video whenever you need a reminder to just tell yourself it's okay to just let your ambitions go. If you're thinking, did I just get roped into another self-love, self-help video? I'm sorry. Yeah, you're welcome. As always, thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.